I don't know if this is scary, maybe more creepy. I live in Nova Scotia, and I used to clean restaurants downtown. We had this one called the Lower Deck. The Lower Deck downtown is a really old building on the water that was built in the late 1700s. It's all stone and everything inside is made of old boat wood and boat accessories. This has been used for hundreds of different things over the years. Just a little description of the layout of the building. When you first walk in the front door, you're in this hallway. There is a bar dining room on the left that has swinging doors with these little feet to prop them open. On the right, there's the stairs that go up to the second floor and some vending machines. Directly ahead, there's a second set of doors that takes you back outside to the back side of the building. We would clean at night, mostly floors, bathrooms, and garbage removal. Every night, creepy things would happen. Like when you came down the stairs from the third floor, there was always 2 sets of footsteps, as if someone was coming down behind you, or strange whispers as if someone was upstairs having a conversation, things falling off the shelves, etc. It was myself, my coworker that I'd worked with for a few years at the time, and the new girl. My coworker did the bathrooms on all 3 floors, mopped and cleaned the windows for the 3rd and 2nd floor, and we put the new girl on the 1st floor to mop and do windows, since it was the largest room, but the least creepy. This way, my coworker and I could get all of our work done and then help her finish at the bottom. We would always prop open the 1st floor door using the stopper feet at the bottom. This way, we could all hear each other. Note, this is around 5 a.m. It was a pretty normal night. Most of the time, you could hear whispers coming from the kitchen on the 3rd floor, or things would get knocked over with no explanations. But that night, there was nothing that I had noticed. I got my work done relatively quick. My coworker had 2 young kids at the time and was really tired that night, so by the time I had finished up my stuff, she was just heading to the 1st floor bathrooms. She always started on the 3rd floor and worked her way down because she hated being upstairs alone. I would do the same. So I finished and came down to the 1st floor. When you walk in the doors to the dining room, it's like a walkway straight back to the bathrooms with booths on the left wall and a row of long tables to the right that were in the center of the room. Another walkway on the right separated the long tables from the bar. The new girl had gotten most of the floor done and was working her way down the walkway directly in front of those doors. The only thing I had to do was mop the bar mats behind the bar. As I finished cleaning the mats, I looked across the room at her and asked if she had gotten under the bar stools. Before I could say anything, I watched as her ponytail was flicked upwards and over her head. When I say she freaked out, I mean she shrieked and started swatting around her head as if there was a bee. She looked over at me, mortified, and asked me if I'd seen that. I was just as in shock because I'd never seen anything like that before, but I stayed calm. I told her that I did, and nothing that crazy has ever happened here before. She was totally freaked out, but I told her to shrug it off since we were almost done. We went back to mopping, but it was only a few seconds before I heard her yelling again. I looked up to see her ponytail in the air, as if someone had a hold of it, almost pulling it backwards. She dropped her mop and started stepping backwards towards the door, as it seemed to pull her and swatted around her head. She only got a few steps back when whatever it was let go, and the doors of the 1st floor went swinging shut, despite them being held open by the door feet. She must have panicked, because she ran out the doors that just slammed behind her. She unlocked the front door and ran out to the car. She waited there for my coworker and I to finish up. She stayed completely silent in the car on her way back to the office. She quit the next morning, and I've never heard from her ever since. My coworker and I worked there for another 1.5 years, and I've never seen anything like this again. Well, let's begin. I'm speaking in the name of a friend that died not long ago. She warned me, but I think I'm next, so I'm warning anyone who might experience this. Do not let them know that you see them. Your end is within your actions. This all started 6 years ago. I used to see a young, pale, floating girl in my room. She didn't have eyes, light brown hair, and feathery fingers, if that makes sense. She would follow me around whenever it was late or at nighttime, stare at me sometimes, and even pet my head with these soft yet so sharp, feathery hands. She's followed me everywhere but my parents' bedroom. For some reason, I used to read religious books called Quran. Every time I did, she would scream so loudly and sometimes would even hit me hard enough to harm me badly, but enough to keep me from reading it, unless I make it to my parents' room. But she would stare at me through their window and bother me at night. Eventually, I started losing hours of sleep, eating less, and she would follow me into school. Everyone thought I was creepy or something, but she was there. This little girl would sometimes talk to me, but the only thing she says is,
"Silence, and we'll be here."
I never knew who she meant by we. Who is we? I didn't think of it much until one night she got inside my dreams, and she smiled, which she's never done before. She pulled me from my arms stronger and stronger every time, and I tried to resist. She took me next to a blackened hole in the wall, and I yelled at her to let go. She said,
"I told you, we'll be here, and you'll be with us now."
In the back or inside of the wall, I could make out shadows of weirdly shaped people, not even sure if they were human or not. I got scared, so I kept resisting. She shook me so hard, and then I woke up from a sharp pain in both of my arms. Somehow, I got cuts from my elbow all the way to my wrists. Cuts so tiny and sharp from her feathery arms. She disappeared from then on. 5.5 years later, she showed back up. However, she was not alone this time. She would follow me everywhere and scratch my arms as the day passed. Day by day, no one sees the cuts but me, and it burns so badly. I feel weaker every day, and her feathery black fingers are just getting sharper and stronger. They will end me. Even while I'm writing this, I can feel them floating above me, waiting for me to fall to my feet or give up. Be aware of the feathery-handed children and ignore them as much as possible. And don't ever let them see a sign that you noticed them. They will never leave you alone. Until you die, my faith be by your side. Before I begin, I'm a 16-year-old male. About 3 years ago, I was in Virginia visiting family over the summer. We were right outside the DC area and staying in a 2-story house near the freeway. On the other side of the freeway was a forest, so my mom and her boyfriend Eric and I were all staying with Eric's parents. We had brought some night vision binoculars and decided that tonight was the perfect time to use them. After dinner, we geared up and headed out. We passed under the freeway and headed into the woods. When we get about 5 minutes into the forest, we set down our bags and take out our binoculars. My mom looks around with them for a while, seeing a few squirrels here and there. She gets tired of them and passes them to me. I look around for a while, being careful not to look at the freeway for fear of being blinded. I spot something in the trees about 50 feet to our left. I concentrate on it, trying to figure out what it is. It looked like a pale, bald, anorexic man looking straight at us from behind the tree. I get a bit uneasy, but I'm hesitant to believe that it's really there. I ask Eric to take a look just in case. To my despair, he sees it too. He describes it much the same way I did. Now, Eric's a former amateur boxer, and I train with MMA almost every day, but neither of us wants to stick around with that thing. We start heading back to the house, crossing under the freeway again. We take another look behind us as a car comes by. All 3 of us see glowing eyes lit up by the headlights on the other side of the freeway. We say fuck that and head back to the house. When we get back, Eric's parents are asleep, and my mom and Eric go upstairs to the guest room. There's only one guest room, so I have the couch downstairs. I'm a little too excited after seeing the thing in the woods, so I end up staying up all night. Around 3 a.m., I'm watching TV, and I start hearing footsteps above me. I immediately remember our earlier encounter and panic a little. I try and calm down and tell myself that it's just one of the dogs or maybe someone who couldn't sleep. I keep hearing the footsteps for a while until I heard the doorknob jiggle. I find it weird that they're trying to open a locked door, but I try and ignore it. They stop, walk around for a few more minutes, and then it's quiet again. I stay up until the sun starts coming up, and then I pass out. My mom wakes me up and I remember the footsteps from the night before. I describe what happened and ask if one of them had gotten up at any time. She says no, and I think it must have been one of the dogs. That is, until she tells me that the room above me is the office. No one was in the office, and the doors stay locked at night. My heart sinks as I piece it all together. I don't know if it was that thing for sure, but I think it was. I've done a lot of research since then, trying to figure out what the thing was that night. I found 2 creatures that seemed to match. I think it was either a skinwalker or a wendigo. Whichever one it was, I'm just thankful that door was locked. I know I wouldn't be able to fight that thing, no matter how tough I am.